To recap, in order to move the x-coordinates, we had to worry about this 3x minus pi. So first we added pi, and then we divided by 3. So we added pi to each one of these x-coordinates, and then we divided all the x-coordinates by 3. Now the last thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to multiply all the y values by 2. And doing that, I'm going to simplify these x-coordinates as well. So this is going to be pi over 3, multiply the y value by 2. This will simplify to pi over 2, multiply the y value by 2. This is 2 pi over 3, multiply the y value by 2. 5 pi over 6, y value by 2. And this simplifies to pi, multiply the y value by 2. Which means we are going to get this curve. Pi over 3, pi over 2, 2 pi over 3, 5 pi over 6, and pi. And then the coordinates are going to be 2 and negative 2. So since it's the cosine, we start at 2 and 0, negative 2, 0 and back to 2. So we get this curve here. Let's tackle that curve. So last, what I want to do is I want to be able to give you the curve, and then I want you to go back and be able to find the function. So we'll start the first one without a horizontal shift, and then the second one will have a horizontal shift. So the first one, we're basically just going to be able to determine what A and B are. And the second is going to be able to determine what C is as well. So determine the function. Y is equal to A, let's say, y is equal to A sine of bx. Given our curve, which is going to be zero, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, and 2, down 2. So our function is going to look like this. Here. So A is considered its amplitude, which is nothing more than a vertical stretch. So A being the amplitude, which really is just our vertical stretch. And we can see that the functions before would go from 1 to negative 1. Now this is going from 2 to 2, and the amplitude being half the distance from the center of this curve to the top. So the amplitude being 2. Same thing here. You can see that this is 2. So A is going to be equal to, well, it's really the absolute value of A, because sometimes this thing is flipped upside down. But since this goes up, down, down, up, this is the regular curve of the sine function. So the absolute value of A being equal to 2, but in this case, A is going to be positive 2, not the negative 2. And we know that the period, your period is going to be a normal period divided by B. Now it's technically the absolute value of this thing as well, but most books tend to force the B's to be positive as well. So I'm going to kind of assume positive. Now, your period is the distance of a single cycle. So the distance of a single cycle is going to be from this beginning point where it starts to this end point here. So the cycle being 4 pi minus 0, which is going to be 4 pi. So your period is going to be 4 pi is equal to your 2 pi over B. Now solving this for B means I have to multiply by B, so B times 4 pi is equal to 2 pi. And then divided by 4 pi, B is going to be 2 pi over 4 pi. So B is going to simplify to 1 over 2. So the function is going to be y is equal to A, which is 2, sine of B, which is going to be 1/2 times x, or you can say 2 sine of x over 2. What I now want to do is I want to graph functions that are in the form of A sine of bx plus c. Now, it's very similar that the absolute value of A is going to be your amplitude. The absolute value of 2 pi over B is going to be equal to your period. Again, usually B's tend to be positive. And then the absolute value of C over B is going to be your phase shift. And what we mean by a phase shift is this is just your horizontal shift. how far it's shifted left and right. We know if it's shifted right, that this is going to be a minus c, and if it's shifted left, it's going to be a plus c. And that's assuming that we're saying b, that is going to be a positive number. So most of the time, we just kind of omit these absolute value signs and take care of this side depending on its shift. So if I have a graph that looks like this, so this is pi over 6, pi over 3, pi over 2, 2 pi over 3, and 5 pi over 6. What the function is going to look like. I don't know if you noticed this, but this sine function is upside down, which really means that that absolute value of a means that their a value is going to be a particular number. Let's see if you can guess right now. So, starting, we know that the absolute value of a is going to be the amplitude. So the absolute value of a is going to be, half the distance from the middle to the top, which is going to be 3. So the absolute value of a is going to be equal to 3, which means a is going to be equal to either 3 or negative 3. Now, since this graph goes down first and up second, really we're talking that a is going to be negative 3. To flip over that horizontal axis. We know that the period is going to be equal to 2 pi over b. Now the period being the length of one cycle. So the length of one cycle is going to be your end point here minus your beginning point here. So your period is going to be 5 pi over 6 minus pi over 6. So this is going to be equal to 4 pi over 6. Is going to equal that 2 pi over b. So we can solve this algebraically by sending the b over, the 4 pi, the 6 up here. So b times 4 pi over 6 is equal to 2 pi, multiplying by 6, and then dividing by 4 pi. So b is going to be, the pi's will cancel, 2 goes into 4 twice, so 6 divided by 2 is going to be 3. So b is going to be equal to 3. And you can see that 4 pi over 6 is equal to 2 pi over 3. It's kind of verification. Now your phase shift is how far this thing is shifted off of 0. So phase shift. The shift is going to be this distance right here. So from this distance. So you can see that the phase shift is this pi over 6 is going to equal c over b. So pi over 6 is going to be equal to c over b, but b was 3. So this is going to be c over 3. So in order to solve this for c, just multiply both sides by 3. So 3 pi over 6 is equal to c, and 3 goes into 6 twice. So this is going to be equal to pi over 2. So therefore, with the little room I got remaining, so therefore our equation, y is going to be equal to a, which is minus 3, sine of b, which is going to be 3. Now remember that this is shifted to the right, so 3x. So shifted to the right means minus pi over 2. Shifted to the right means subtract.